Welcome everybody to another episode of Lockdown 23 in 1. Today's story is going to begin in the streets of Hawaii. Mr. Mitty Magatiga Jr. went on a string of crimes that left many victims with nightmares waking up in sweats from the terrifying situations that he put them through. It doesn't stop there though. He ends up getting sentenced and goes to the Hawaiian prison system. Turns out it's a bit overcrowded there, so they end up shipping him to Arizona. And what he does to an inmate in there is truly terrifying. But the article says that this guy is considered to be a shot caller for the USO gang. Don't know too much about that organization, but I've heard plenty stories. Now, if this is what you're into, all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. The story starts with Mr. Eric Kawamoto. In the courtroom, he says he thrashes in his sleep and wakes up in sweat because of nightmares of burglars breaking into his home and attacking him. Every day is a constant reminder of what happened to me and my wife on June 26. A circuit judge handed down a life sentence for the 18-year-old Magatiga without the possibility of parole for attempted murder for breaking into the Kawamoto's home on June 26th and shooting him in the chest after robbing him. Magatiga's also received 10 life terms for felonies and 4 other burglaries, including in which one he sexually assaulted a 55-year-old woman. So Mitty Magatiga is going to be starting his prison bid with some bad paperwork. And that brings me to question on how this guy even became a shot caller to begin with. Maybe over there in Hawaii they don't check paperwork that strictly. He fell through the cracks and rose in the ranks in his gang. Not quite sure, but it happens sometimes. Either way, like I said in the beginning, he gets shipped to the Hawaiian prison system, but it becomes overcrowded. So they move him to a mainland prison in Arizona. And this prison is new grounds to me. I've never heard of it. The Saguaro Correctional Center in Eloy, Arizona. But this is a closer look at the prison. Inmates are actually having a little bit of a celebration. Seems like this is one of the few prisons that have some kind of contract to get the Hawaiian inmates in case of overpopulation. Mr. Magatiga, 37, was found guilty of first-degree murder last week in the slaying of inmate Bronson, and is now in the second phase of his trial to determine if he qualifies for the death penalty. Now, yeah, he killed another inmate, and that should be the main topic, but really, it's this death penalty situation. In Hawaii, they don't have it, but it was overpopulated, so he went to Arizona, and Arizona does. And he killed a person. Doesn't matter if it's an inmate or not, he has to go through the court process. Now, the deputy presented gruesome details from the case to an Arizona jury on Tuesday, including autopsy pictures of Bronson's body. The judge, Robert Olson, paused the trial briefly when the juror reported feeling ill as the pictures were displayed on multiple screens in the courtroom. I'm sure it's like that with many cases. Bronson's autopsy showed that he suffered 124 small stab wounds and 28 large stab wounds in the attack, including wounds to his face, neck, chest, side, and back, as well as defensive wounds to his hands and forearms. His nose and larynx was also broken. Larynx is like the bone right here, if I remember correctly. Court records portray Mr. Magatiga as a shot caller, or a leading member of the USO family prison gang, which federal officials have described as the dominant gang in the Hawaiian correctional system. Various court filings link Magatiga to other violent situations in prisons in Hawaii, Mississippi, and Arizona. Magatiga also faces 2 aggravated assault charges in Arizona for allegedly stabbing 2 correctional officers at the Florence Correctional Center as the guards were escorting Magatiga and another Hawaiian prisoner back to their cells from a recreational yard. That prison is now known as the Central Arizona Florence Correctional Complex. More details came in the courtroom about Bronson's attack and how he was dragged off the top bunk, and that noted that Magatiga volunteered to an investigator that he carved the letters of his gang, USO, on Bronson's chest while Bronson was still breathing. Man, oh man, this guy here is a perfect role model of a prison killer. And to top it off, Mr. Bronson only had about 8 months left on a 5-year bid, if I remember correctly. So he was knocking at the front door before Magatiga stepped in the cell. And there was other stuff that he said to the investigators about Bronson curling up in a corner of the cell, hoping that he wasn't going to stab him to death. Picture that. You're cornered. Nothing left for you to do but beg for mercy by the guy holding the chain. Not to mention a guy like this with a mohawk mullet. Man, oh man, there ain't no coming back from this, is what I'd be telling myself. It's the end of the road, about to meet our maker, buddy. Now, believe it or not, after all this gruesome stuff that he's done, stabbing COs, killing an inmate, not to mention the filthy string of crimes that he did before he went to prison, it didn't persuade the jurors or whoever it was to give him the death penalty. But they are going to have a retrial, so he might not be as lucky on that go-round. Now, to shed a little bit of light in this dark story, remember Mr. Eric Kawamoto, the individual who was shot in the chest in the robbery, said he wakes up with night sweats and terrors from it? Well, while doing research on this case, I seen another story about him and his wife escaping death once again. They walked away with only bruises, luckily, when their Beechcraft Sundowner plane plunged into the Makaya surfing and swimming areas, known as Charlie's Reef. Man, oh man, that couple has went through some traumatic times, huh? You can only look back at stuff like that like, damn, gotta be a reason why I'm still here. Crazy turn of events, huh? But let's jump back into the prison scene really quick. I got a question for anybody out there who's been locked up in the Hawaiian prison system. How does someone with bad paperwork end up becoming a shot caller? No organization that I ever came across will stand for a leader having paperwork of sexual assaults of any kind. You know, a lot of prisons, they can slide through the cracks. Like I said, man, the prisons I was in, we didn't check paperwork all the time, but these are gangs. You would think the gangs, regardless of where you're at, is going to make sure the leader that they're following is legit and solid, right? So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments section below anybody's done time out there in Hawaii. Or California, too. Let's say that guy got transferred to a California prison. He was a big shot over there in Hawaii, but y'all know how the paperwork goes in California. It's extremely strict. Anybody from the Asian Pacific car out there in California, let me know. Would he get got? Anyways, I'm working on a few other stories. They're taking a little bit longer than usual, but I would like to read a comment to y'all really quick that I got in yesterday's video. It's actually a true story. I did a little research on it. Randy Sky, Frog Jr., Unintention, 8531 is his name. What the heck, man? And he said, hey, Death, been here since 2018. Done, came home, and I'm a free man. I wanted to point you towards Bailey Trent Kettle Camp. I was his cellie at a maximum security penitentiary in Missouri. His story is wild, man. We weren't real good friends or anything, only cellies for a few months. I just think you might like digging into his story and what happened. He was 30 or 40 days from going home at a level 1 prison. He got into it with a cat named Harley Holt. I learned all this after it happened, reading Bailey's discovery while he was going to court for it. Snoopy, Snoopy, Snoopy you are, Randy. Anyway, he hits a dude one time. Dude gets up, checks in. CO walks him to the hole. 45 minutes later, they find him unresponsive in a strip-out cage, after they had originally put him in a cell in the hole with a gang member. He was unresponsive. They rushed him to a hospital. He dies 5 days later. Bailey Trent Kettle Camp gets 45 years, 35 years for murder, 10 years for violence to an inmate by an inmate. Now, he also said in the comment that the gang member actually testifies in the courtroom, saying that that guy passed out on the floor from the beating that he got before he came into the hole. My question to y'all is that snitching? You know, just imagine that gang member, man. He's probably in there like, damn, ain't nobody gonna believe me. They're gonna think I beat him to death. But the story is another great example of just one punch could easily end someone's life. I like to think that my channel gives a more raw and authentic look when it comes to fighting. Especially when you're a grown man. You know, when you're little, it might not be because y'all guys ain't got that much weight. Y'all all still maturing. But when fools get big, it's like lights out forever type of punches. Unreal. And look, like all these stories that I've been doing recently for y'all, you know, all the inmate murders, they're actually supposed to be for October, Halloween time. It's just so many of them, man. I never got to it. So, yeah, that's why y'all been seeing a lot of these lately. We're going to jump around to some reactions later on down the road, some courtroom trials, and all kinds of shenanigans. So, be on the lookout for all the great content coming your way. But most importantly, as always, y'all be easy, be safe, and stay free.